Yes, I'm Gorham, and I am a resident in a retirement village. And at some point, I was contacted by the Retirement Villages Residents Association, the regional level, who had been contacted by the national level because a concern had been raised about a threat made to a resident. She'd had a problem with a noise in her room right from when she had first obtained that service department and had been complaining about it. And the village had finally got round to providing an alternative, but now they wanted to put her back to her own room, and she was saying it's not finished yet. And essentially they said, well, we'll trespass you and we'll get the police to support, which was a real blow-up. We put the formal complaint together. The village, in effect, offered her some money from the time that she was sort of into the other service department. They just seemed to not want to acknowledge that it had anything to do with the unsatisfactory ORA that sold. It was just, yeah. Anyway, so that was what they were offering. And there was a lot of distress for her. It was huge. After a few months, not quite sure whether that went before Christmas. Anyway, it got to them. And there's a lot of waiting, you might have noticed in this. It's taken time. And it drags on. And finally something comes back from the statutory supervisor basically saying, the village concerned, did they talk with the village? And it looked as if they had. I didn't ask the question, but they certainly hadn't come back to the person I was working with. And it seemed that, in effect, the conversations or whatever they'd had with the village were more about, so how are you going to do better in the future? Not how are you going to put it right with this person? At some point in there, we knew that the village would be lining up numbers of lawyers. The potential costs just would get bigger and bigger. And by this stage, the person I was working with had felt that there was enough of an offer to make it worth going with. Some disappointments. The statutory supervisor didn't talk to the person concerned, but I'm pretty sure they talked to the village. So totally doubting their independence in reality. The village did not acknowledge that it failed to deliver a service department fit for purpose. The village did not acknowledge its abuse by threatening to call on the police. And although offering the counselling, they didn't take up the possibility of flexibility and letting the resident make some choices. Possibly positively out of it, the person concerned thinks that the village staff are now better at paying attention, not just to her, but to service department residents generally. Oh, the apology. The apology. This was the village's apology. We apologise for any distress and upset the situation has caused you. Apology would mean we apologise for putting you in a defective room and for not realising just how distressing and hurtful this was for you. That's an apology. The other one is a pretend apology. Awful. We apologise also for not considering the possible cultural and social implications for you in threatening you as we did with police enforcing the trespass. That would be an apology. The person I worked with and I would strongly affirm that the complaint process needs to be totally independent, not paid for either directly or indirectly by the operator. And he who pays the piper calls the tune. So you've got to have it coming in from outside.